So here we are, guys. This is my top 5 beach fishing rods for UK sea angling. Often thought about upgrading rods, and probably do it every 10 years, something like that, maybe 15, depends how good the rods are. And I've been involved with all the scenarios of like starting out, buying a budget kit, then sort of stepping up and getting a slightly better rod, and then going top end and getting some really good stuff. So my advice, if you're starting out, you probably want to get a middle of the range sort of rod, and this is based on quality of the components really, and what you can actually do with the rod, and how, you know, money well spent. So there's lots of rods on the market that will just get you out fishing, but they won't necessarily, it won't be long before you'll want to, you know, if you really enjoy the art of beach casting and beach fishing, you'll want to upgrade pretty quickly. So this video is a quick fire video, just to identify a few brands which are particularly good, and maybe one or two which are sort of on the lesser end but are still quite good rods. So this is not really going into detail with regards to the budget range and starting out. This is probably sort of aimed at the more sort of what I'd call like the average sort of rods, and a few top end rods. And these particular brands stand out for me. If you are the serious angler and you're looking to upgrade, these are the rods we can go for. But this video is mainly geared up for someone who is like starting out to get sort of a feel for what's going on. So what I'll do, I'll grade. There's 5 rods I'm going to look at, and I'll grade them accordingly, and you'll be able to see at the end of the video which in what order and why and stuff like that. So this first rod here, this is a Harrison torix. Now this is Harrison have been around for a while in the freshwater scene for producing some very good rods, and past few years I believe they've just now got involved in building surfcasters. So they do 3 rods, or I think they do 4 rods, and they obviously, you know, they cover the the match scene, the rough ground scene, the tournament caster scene. They do all that, and they call it, the first rod, they call it a P1. I think it's 14 foot, and it casts 3 to 5 ounce. And they do the P2, which is 14 foot again, 4 to 6 ounce. They do the P3, which is the same length, 5 to 7 ounce. And then they do a Q3, which is a 5 to 7 ounce. And it's more of a sort of for rough ground and rocky shores and stuff like that. That's what they say anyway. So if I was looking at going for those rods, I'd go snap bang right in the middle, and I would probably go for either the 4 to 6 ounce or the 5 to 7 ounce rod, which I think is I'd probably go for the Torix P3, which is a 5 to 7 ounce. Reasons why, because if you want to fish a heavier lead, fast tide beaches, the rod will cope with sort of that heavier gear, but it would also chuck out a nice 5 or 6 ounce lead. So 6 ounce lead and bait is probably the way to go with that. So with regards to those particular rods, the Harrison torix, they range at around about, at the minute, £450. I think they're probably being quite generous selling them for that. I think once they get a bit more established in the market, you'll probably see them for going for more sort of £500 or £600, something like that. They're a very nice rod. I have had the pleasure of owning a torix before for salmon fishing. And yeah, that was, I think it was a £3 test curve. That was what I was using in New Zealand there, and they're very, very good blanks. So I've no doubt that they would be, they're seriously going to, well, I'm not saying they're going to take over the market as the top end sort of rod, but they're certainly going to rival Century, Daiwa, and a few of the top end brands for sales and fishing rods. So if you've got the money, I would definitely recommend investing in the Harrison torix Beachcaster range. No shadow of a doubt, and I would go for the match rod. If you're going to order one of them, order the match rod, which strikes in the middle of the road, because the we'll go into it a bit later on. But you know, if you go slightly under more of an estuary sort of rod, it's quite won't do what you want it to do. So you want to strike about the match rod is probably about the best. Will be the best fishing rod. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so let's move on. So this next brand, Any Fish Anywhere, they are particularly good. They're very nice rods. They're middle of the range sort of bracket. They're not cheapos. They're not massively expensive, but they're not cheap either. The build quality is superb. I own the 1 to 3 ounce estuary rod, 12 foot. It's lovely made. It will literally handle any fish anywhere. It's true what they say. But they're really nicely made, really nicely finished, nice fittings, Fuji fittings and rings and all that. It's absolutely lovely. So yeah, I would go with the match rod again. The one which is 6 and bait Mark II with a fixed spool or multiplier. Doesn't really make a lot of difference. 13 foot is okay. One thing I will say about length of rod, if you're fishing, frequently fishing storm beaches, which have a big swell, it's massive advantage, a bit like Chesil Beach, massive advantage to have a rod which is 14, 15 foot long. If you've got a rod rest which makes it stand even taller, keeps the line out of the shingle, from chafing on the shingle with a bit heavy swell. Otherwise, calm conditions, 13 foot will be fine. But most conditions, 13 foot will be plenty. Depends on what style of casting you've got. If you're casting off the ground, you probably get away with a longer rod. But if you do the pendulum cast, 13 foot would probably be about ideal, I would say. So again, Any Fish Anywhere, seriously good rods, very well made. The guy who builds them, I think he used to work for Ziplex. I'm not sure, but yeah, they do quite a selection, some of them, some of the rods, they do top end rods, which would be up there with the Harrison there. But they also do a more sort of an average budget range as well. But out of all the ones, when you go on the website there, if you want a rod for fishing, I would recommend the match style of rod. So that way you get a rod which can cast quite well, long distances, and also it's got a nice tip. So that's Any Fish Anywhere. Other rods, Daiwa. Daiwa Tournament is a good rod, but we're not going to go in. That one's been around for years. We're not going to go into that. We're going to target the Daiwa Kenzaki Surf, and they are what I would call they're a modern rod. They're very light. They are. I actually own the Uptide rod. I brought the Kenzaki Uptide rod, and I wouldn't say they're the best blank in the world. They won't bust the bank. But they are well thought out, well designed, got nice fittings, nice rings, nicely finished, and cast a relatively long way. They replicate a rod which is a lot more expensive than what you actually pay for them. I think the 13.6 you can get for about 220 quid, and the 14 foot you can get for 230 quid. So they're a bit like the Any Fish Anywhere. They're in that sort of mould. Exceptionally good rod for the money. I think the 13.6 will do a 4 to 7 ounce, and the 14.2 will do a 4 to 8 ounce. And like you say, they're designed for fishing. They're well thought out, and they're just sort of designed for sort of fishing, not necessarily tournament casting. And remember, with all this casting and stuff, remember the key thing is you've got to keep that bait on your hook. Your lugworm flies off the further you cast it out. But I would recommend them as a rod, a good rod. If you're looking at getting a good rod that's going to last years, I'd recommend, you're going to have to spend at least a couple hundred quid to get a really, really good rod. But if you want to go to sort of a more sort of a good quality rod, budget sort of range, I think these Sonic rods would be more than capable of lasting quite a long time, doing a job if you look after it. What I do when I finish my day on the beach or night on the beach, when I get home, I always just put the hose over the rod and just rinse off that sea spray mist. And but they've got so much, they're lovely coatings on these modern rods now. The rings are fully sort of protected and everything, so you ain't got to worry too much. But I just do that anyway. Got the sand off it as well. But yeah, they're sort of a new design. These ones, they're sort of value for money. That's the aim of them. They've got good quality rings, super slim, made from top quality carbon, and they've got white sort of tips to help you see at the tip at night, and movable reel seats. And yeah, they do, I think in this particular one, they do a bass rod as well. But they do a 4 to 6 ounce and a 5 to 7 ounce for about 120 quid, 130 quid, multiplier and thick spool. So I'd probably go with the 5 to 7 ounce if you're looking for a sort of a beach rod there. And last but not least, that leaves us with the Century. How could we not leave out the Century? And yeah, I have actually used, this is a Century tip Tornado Super Match, and this is I have used it, and it's a lovely, you can really, if you're spending, you're probably looking at 500 or 600 quid for something like this, you do notice a difference. It's light, it's just lovely to cast with. It's just light years above everything else. They are ridiculously expensive, but if you're doing it, if a lot of guys just beach fish, that's all they do, and they may enter tournaments and competitions, matches at the weekend and stuff like that. And if that's your hobby and that's what you do, and I wouldn't think twice about spending that sort of money on a rod, because they are so much nicer to cast. When you got fish on, and if you look after them, they'll last you a lifetime. They really will. They're so well made. And my pick out of all of them would be the Tip Tornado Super Match 13.6, and that cast a 4 to 7 ounce. Yeah, just like the rod, the build, the blank is just absolutely out of this world. Very expensive, but as the saying goes, you pay, what you put your money on is what you get, really. So I'm not going to go into, there's 5 rods there. If I was upgrading my gear, those are the rods, probably apart from the Sonic, I would be looking at, so to speak. Any fish anywhere for me would be the best all-round average money spent on a rod. I think they're really, really nice. I'd look to get probably a matching pair of the match rods in that. However, if I'm looking to spend a bit more money, 450 quid a rod, I think that sort of money would be well spent on a Harrison. I think the Harrison right now is probably the best rod out of the lot. So I'm going to rate Harrison as my number 1. We're going to go Any Fish Anywhere as number 2. Okay, and we're going to go for the sort of the anglers sort of starting out, looking to get on the board. I'd recommend Sonic, and 4th the Daiwa Kenzaki surf rods, because they're new kid on the block, trusted brand, and I actually own the Uptide and I've seen the build quality, beautiful. And number 5 will go getting a bit expensive, and but the Century Tip Tornado is probably the best rod out of the lot, but the most expensive is probably 500 or 600 quid. I'm not sure how much they are now. So bearing in mind this video is based upon someone who's sort of looking to get their first sort of set of beach rods, we'll put that one at number 5, if that makes sense. So that's pretty much it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions about anything, there's a lot more detail into the sort of the rods and what they're used for, and this, that, and the other. But this video is aimed for the weekend, grabbing your rods, getting some bait, going down the beach, and having a surf casting session on a tide. So I'm looking for a fishing rod. There is lots of different rods you can get, and you can get the ones which cast the heavier leads, and the estuary rods, and there's lots of different continental rods, and there's hundreds and hundreds of different brands now. But for me, if you want a fishing rod, these are some of the rods you'd want to sort of be seriously looking at, depending whether you're starting out or whether you're an intermediate angler or whether you're the confident, been doing it for 30 years angler. These are the 5 rods which should cover those kind of people. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want any further information, just give us a yell, give us a message. But yeah, I'd like to think I sort of hit the nail right on the head there, really. But yeah, no, I hope you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe, and I will see you later. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye bye.